Welcome to another episode in the Skillful Living series. I'm going to talk today about Karma Yoga, which I had introduced in a previous video. So, this is the path of action, and we all take action because in order to live in this world, we have to eat, we have to drink. Most of us need to earn some money. Either we need to grow our own food or we need to earn enough money to buy it or get it in some other way. If we don't work for money, we work at home, we look after our home, we bring up children. So all of us, in fact, take action in order to live in this world, to live this life that we all live. So then what is so special about Karma Yoga? Well, the question really is, do we take right action? In fact, one could more accurately call this the path of right action. To take the right action at every step in life. Now, this brings a lot of rewards and it brings us what we've set out to achieve, which is to live at peace with ourselves and at peace with our environment. But it's a tall order to say at every step in our life, we will take the right action. So how do we do this? This is one of the 4 paths that is shown to us in the Bhagavad Gita, as I had mentioned in my last video. So does the Bhagavad Gita tell us what to do and what not to do? It doesn't actually set out a lot of do's and don'ts exactly. There are other traditions that do give us sets of things that we ought to do and things that we should not do. So I had mentioned, I think the last time, for example, the 10 Commandments of Christianity and Judaism, which do set out a few things that are right and a few things that are not. There are other traditions, a non-religious secular text like the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali also sets out a few things that we could do for our own development and growth, and a few things we could avoid doing. So we do have some very specific guides from other traditions. But what does the Gita say? The Gita actually does give us a few hints on how to achieve this aim of taking the right action at every moment in life. So one of these tips is to start thinking of highest good rather than short-term gain or short-term gratification. If we start to think of longer-term higher good, that's one way to start. So let me explain this with an example. Let's imagine that I'm a young woman who used to be a smoker. I'm neither, but this is just an example. So now I've given up smoking, but one day after a very long, stressful day at work, I go out with my friends and many of them are smoking. I smell the cigarette smoke and I have a craving for a cigarette, and I think, wouldn't it be nice to have a cigarette, just one cigarette? How much harm can it do? And I know that my stress will just melt away if I have this one cigarette. So this is the time to ask myself, will it really stop with one cigarette? Or is it quite likely that I might go back to smoking, because it is a very strong addiction for most people who smoke or who have smoked. And if I do go back to smoking, what will that mean for me? What are the health implications? So this is one way to compare short-term gratification with longer-term higher good for myself at this moment. Another tip that the Gita gives us is to not think only of ourselves, but to think of the whole, not just me, not my selfish desires alone, but how would this impact everybody else? So in a way we can start by thinking of, when we are contemplating an action, we can think of what is the likely result? Who are the people who are likely to be impacted by this action and how will it affect them. And then we think of the highest good, the long-term good of the whole group rather than just my own personal desire of the moment. So if we go back to that example, let's imagine now that I also have young children at home and I have that cigarette and then I can't stop smoking, I go back to smoking. Of course it has implications for me, but does it also have implications for my young children who will also be absorbing some of the smoke, especially if I smoke at home? So this is how we start to widen our concern, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. The third tip is to always act from the highest level of yourself. As human beings, we have different levels of being. We all have a body, and to a greater or lesser extent, we do identify with this body. If I see a picture of myself, I say, oh, that's a picture of me. So that is already identification with the body. The body has senses and sense organs. So we have the sense of seeing, of hearing, of smelling, the sense of touch, the sense of taste. All this is part of that level of the body. So let's say one day, let's say now, in another example, that I am a diabetic, but I love ice cream, which, by the way, I do. But as a diabetic, of course, I shouldn't be eating too much of it. But something triggers that desire for ice cream. Maybe I see a movie and I see people eating gelati or whatever it is. And then I think, oh, let me eat some ice cream. And let me eat some more ice cream. Now I'm being led by my palate, by the body. My mind could now step in and say, you know what, you're diabetic, it's not really very good for you. You might enjoy it at this moment, but what about tomorrow? Will it affect your sugar levels? So this is now the second level of being. From the body, I have moved to the level of the mind. The Gita tells us there are two more levels above this as well. Above the mind is the intellect. So everybody has a mind, but not everybody uses their mind very well. This is where intelligence and intellect comes in. Discernment, the ability to judge right from wrong, good from bad, the ability to judge short-term gratification and longer-term gain, the ability to discern between a very selfish desire for myself and something that could be in the larger good. So all of this is part of the intellect. And finally, the Gita tells us we come to what's literally the highest self, whichever is the highest part of ourselves. The Gita often refers to this as the self. When we write it in English, we write it with a capital S. That makes it easy to understand. The highest self could also be seen as the soul. But it doesn't matter what you call it. If you don't want to call it the soul, you can just call it the self or the highest self. So the more we are connected to this highest level of being, the less egoistic we are, the less we are likely to act only out of selfish desire or thinking only of ourselves. So we could also think of this as a way of moving above the ego self to, again, literally a higher part of ourselves, a higher self. Just as an aside, in case any of you are wondering what happened to the heart, because usually we talk about body, heart, mind. Now we're talking about body, mind, intellect, and self. Well, according to the Gita, all of our feelings and emotions come from our own thoughts. This could be a topic for discussion in another video, but just to mention it here. So therefore our feelings, perhaps a little indirectly, also come from the mind. They come from the thoughts we hold. And one other point before I end today's video. Karma, although I didn't say, but karma means action or deed. But in this context of karma yoga, it includes speech, because our words are very powerful. We can create harmony with our words, or we can create discord. We can encourage and inspire people, or we can put them down, make them feel unhappy. So in next week, in my next video, I will talk a little bit more about the power of speech, and I will touch on the Toltec wisdom of Central America, and just talk a little bit in the context of the power of our words. But for now, this is it. As usual, I invite you to post your questions and your comments, and I encourage you also to watch the previous videos in this series. For those of you who are new to this series, all the videos are still available on YouTube. I will post a link below. And also, for those of you who are new, Pampushdar, sorry, I'm introducing myself at the end. I'm a Reiki master, a meditation teacher, and a counselor and coach. So that's it for this week. Hope to see you again next week. Thank you.